like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe. And also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba, Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Grant.
Dude, so much you do conspiracy news. It would be 10 times better than what you see on television.
It's like I don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
Hey, Skiba News Nation family. Welcome to episode 154 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source for the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba. Here's your co-host, Jake Grant. How are you doing, Jake?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Jeremiah. I'm excited to do episode 154 with you this week. We've been doing a lot of live streams and interviews, but I think it's about time we had another History's Mysteries, man. We've been missing those.
Yeah, I got a good one for you guys today. But before we get into it, I do want to say Oppo will not be here. He's still recovering. So if you do want to support his GoFundMe, over here, this little QR code, you can support him and his recovery and everything. And yeah, I also want to thank Nicholas for sending me this book. I'm not the best reader, but there are a lot of cool photos in here, and it has a lot of parallels with our Rockwall visit. And I also want to thank Jericho for sending me this interesting shirt. So thank you, Jericho. I don't know if am I showing it? So yeah,
pretty trippy.
And
cool.
Whoever Jericho is, make yourself known. I want to know who sent it to me. I'm very interested. So yeah, man, you got some current news for us?
Yeah, I do. Before I get into it, though, I did want to mention that we have a new partnership with the Life Network, and they have an affiliate link for us. If you guys want to sign up, go to watchthelife.com/Skiba. And, the Way documentary was one that really was impactful for me. And it also had your father, Rob, and they have all this content, and they also have a bunch of new shows that they're setting up, guys like Zach Bauer, homesteading. They have like a dating show.
Hey, how's it going? Luke?
What's up, man?
Good to see you. Welcome to the homestead.
I grew up in the country, I grew up in the woods. We never did any kind of farming stuff, so started watching YouTube videos like crazy. So that's how I got into farming.
The rain totals are around 50 inches of rain a year in the Ozarks, which is a lot. Sometimes parts of Hawaii don't get that much rain. So we were like, you know what, why don't we just do rain catchment?
What is TLN?
Be prepared to be a mass animal murderer, for a bit.
You're the reason I didn't get goats.
That's right, you're a good man. First time you walk outside your door and you see a goat standing on top of your car, you're going to realize why he separates the sheep from the goats. Homesteading opens that level of understanding to you.
What about lifestyle? Do you want a farmer? Do you want a van lifer?
What's not a van lifer? I want someone whose company I really enjoy and genuine friendship.
What's a song that reminds you of childhood?
My dad used to sing this Davy Crockett song. You know who Davy Crockett is?
I've heard of him.
So join the military.
Yeah.
Right when you decide to quit
away.
Christmas and you can get deployed and not have to deal with it. I'm in Germany. I can't.
19th century scholars discovered rituals outlive beliefs. So what happens is the ritual continues, but we forget why we're doing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hebrews and She-Brews, welcome to the Life Podcast, where we inspire you to thrive as peculiar people in a modern world.
Hey, you know
really
what?
Cool network.
What about our new documentaries that are coming out soon? We should put them on there.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can definitely ask and see if they're interested in having them on there.
And what is the promo code?
So I'll drop the link. If you guys sign up for watchthelife.com/Skiba, you guys will sign up with our affiliate link, and it'll go to help supporting our channel. And so that'll be the link below in the description. And as long as you guys click that, as long as you sign up within like a month of clicking the link in the description, then we get a cut for that, and you can help support Skiba News Nation. So
same with the personal outlet and all that stuff it'll all be down there. So if you guys want to help us, I also got a cool new design in the merch shop, but you'll have to go check it out on skibanewsnation.com. So.
Awesome.
All right, man.
All right, Jeremiah, let's get into the news.
Alrighty. All right, Minch on the bench.
So we have so many conspiracy theorists drooling over the Artemis mission, and I wanted to show some exclusive footage or photography, rather, from the backside of the moon. Here, are you ready for it, Jeremiah?
Oh my gosh,
this is what Pink Floyd was talking about the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yep. That crack right in it.
That's the dark side of the moon, everybody.
Aw.
So
cute.
Anyways, very interesting. The Artemis mission. There's been a lot of people trying to look at the footage, debunking some of the things that they've been showing us. But really, I do think this is probably the most accurate imagery from their mission to the other side of it. So we should definitely believe that this is what the moon looks like on its dark side.
My father. The biggest truther about all this stuff being said, because he's been sending me all these links, and I think he's like fed up with it. I don't know. Let us know.
Oh yeah. Well, with that said, we have some interesting things that happened on Easter Day. We had those comments and tweets from President Trump that we covered in our live stream, and of course, a lot of people were worried that the world was about to just implode and World War III was going to start, and Trump threatening to completely wipe out civilizations and using the F word and saying praise Allah on Easter, which ticked Tucker Carlson off, the avid Catholic, which makes sense because the Catholics did the Crusades, and there's some bad blood there. So anyways, but the same day that all of this fear-mongering tweeting happened, there was this miracle story rescue. Of course, the pilot that was downed in Iran, and the technology that apparently was used was hyper sci-fi, crazy, able to sense his heart from miles and miles away with AI deciphering different signals and such. So I just wanted to show this. It's just so interesting. The secret, never before used CIA tool that helped find airmen downed in Iran. And it says, if your heart is beating, we will find you. So let's check out this clip on how the CIA used his heartbeat to rescue the downed airmen.
To share what we can about this exceptional mission, and to recognize the ingenuity and bravery of those who executed it, as well as the leadership and resolve of the president who ordered it. One thing that has been clear to me in this role is that the flawless military operations that the Department of War is known for are hostage to flawless intelligence. We saw that in the skies over Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. We witnessed it in Venezuela.
Midnight Hammer.
In Operation Absolute Resolve. We've seen it against the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, and we're seeing it every day in Operation Epic Fury, including this mission to rescue an aviator buried deep behind enemy lines. Because it is the unique tradition of the U.S. Armed Forces that we leave no man or woman behind, this was a no-fail mission. That was the spirit in which the president put us to work, and we were determined not to let him down or our airmen down. As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the president can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities. And because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know. At the president's direction, we deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected. For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen. On Saturday morning, we achieved our primary objective by finding and providing confirmation that one of America's best and bravest was alive and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA. That confirmation was relayed by Secretary Hegseth to the president, and the operation quickly moved to the execution phase. Following the successful exfiltration on Saturday night, our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission.
Well, Jeremiah, we'll pause it there, but what do you think about this technology that apparently can find somebody based on their heartbeat? And
it's horrifying. If you're trying to hide from the government, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Or the Mossad, in my case.
In your case, I think all of our cases, all of us, conspiracy theorists are on some list somewhere. But the point being, recently, we've seen many validated, strange, advanced technologies going back to the Maduro excursion, where they used these kind of brain exploding microwaves. We had the confirmation of that advanced technology, and now we have, this deployed for more rescue mission-esque things. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, now let's go ahead and check out this Julian Dory clip. And he talks about how during this period of time, Tuesday was the deadline for Iran to open the strait, and kind of was the final timer on some of Trump's very incendiary tweets. But what we find is that apparently there was some conflict of interest between Israeli operations and President Trump's desire to have a ceasefire. So let's check out this. It's really interesting.
Reportedly got information that the two negotiators from the IRGC that the United States was negotiating with this week were about to be assassinated by Israel. And the Pakistanis took that information to Trump, and Trump went to Israel and said, don't f***ing do that. The Israelis were going to do that. Now, there was another report that is not, this one was less sourced and all that, but apparently there were bombs that dropped in Iran in buildings very close to where the Pakistani ambassadors. Trump, don't kill the negotiators. Israel, we're going to kill the negotiators. Pakistan, hey, Israel's going to kill the negotiators. Trump to Israel, don't kill my negotiators. Israel, let's kill the Pakistanis. Like, what the f*** are doing? What are we doing? Why is this happening?
So we have, President Trump trying to slow down the escalation of conflict, and the Israelis are like plotting assassination missions with the very people that are negotiating.
And you wonder why I make fun of them. And you wonder why I make fun of them in the please excuse my sense of humor. It's because they're so,
Yeah, I mean, we're all teetering on the edge of a total war, and a lot of people are concerned that because of politicians on both sides. You have Zionists supporting the kind of aggressive stance militarily that Israel takes. I showed last week something very important. I wanted to bring it up once again for our audience, just in case somebody missed our live stream. But it is right here. You see this. This is the worldmonitor.app. And now, as news commentators, as people that are trying to juggle all these topics, we will miss things. But this open source app that was just recently released is so fascinating to me. It uses real-time footage and news stories all around the world, and it allows you to monitor it with like a Google Earth style map, where you can zoom in here and discover like places that are being attacked, places of conflict, and places of interest in terms of the world news. Over here, there's a whole bunch of different layers to the map that you can kind of reveal. And not only that, but if you scroll down, you can see, like these strategic risk overviews and intel feeds with incoming news, live intelligence, world news stories, things that are pretty cutting edge. And I've really appreciated using this tool. You can pull this up on the big screen in your bat cave. You know what I mean? Because this is one of those, world monitoring devices that I've never had access to, but I'm definitely appreciative of how it's been set up.
Hey, we should research who owns it, because maybe we could sponsor. Maybe they'd want to do a sponsor. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested. I don't know exactly how to find out how to I wonder if they have a contact. Let me see here.
We could figure it out later.
Yeah, I'm sure. We can look into it. Eli Habib.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to work
Habib. Well, anyways, I'm appreciative of it. And the reason I wanted to show it is because just recently, this video here caught my attention.
Palantir's
AI.
software as a service product that we are deploying across the entire department. As you can see, it's not just one data feed, it's multiple. And instead of having 8 or 9 systems for those decision makers to look at every single day, in order for them to make decisions, you then fuse it into a single visualization tool. The single visualization tool allows you to select, deselect different types of data, look at different approaches to data, but more importantly, action from the same system that you're trying to develop your workflows around. Once you have a detection that you want to actually move into a targeting workflow, for example, this is what we do. Left click, right click, left click, magically, it becomes a detection. That detection then gets moved into a workflow. This is standard digitized workflow, but I want to walk you through it quickly. You have different types of targets that are identified on the left there. Every single column produces a different type of decision-making process. Once you have that decision and you're trying to actually action that process, we now move into COA generation, course of action generation, where we are automatically, via a number of factors, trying to identify what the best asset to prosecute a target looks like. Once we've got the different approaches and we select one, we then can move directly into how do we action that target. So we've gone from identifying the target to now coming up with a course of action to now actioning that target, all from one system. This is revolutionary. We were having this done in about 8 or 9 systems where humans were literally moving detections left and right in order to get to our desired end state. In this case, actually closing a kill chain.
Wow. Did you hear that? We just see, this surface level AI that we plebeians have access to, worldmonitor.app, like what I was showing. But this is what these intelligence agencies have access to, which is very similar looking almost, where you can zoom in on the world map and click this or that, but it's a complete circuit kill chain to where you can action different monitoring of people. And I'm curious if Palantir wasn't plugged into this discovery of the airman who was downed in Iran, which is why I show this video, which is about the negative side of how they can use it to assassinate people or do whatever. But you know, they were clicking around, and I wonder if they were just literally using this Eye of Oculus style AI, like the eagle eye from that movie. Yeah. So it's very interesting. I want to share this next clip, which is very interesting because we have further alien UFO disclosure. And this is a clip of Dr. Stephen Greer reacting to the new claims about U.S. human alien breeding, which we covered in our previous live stream. So let's check this out together.
But over the last 2 weeks, multiple people, including 2 members of Congress, have not denied that our own government is experimenting with mixing the DNA between some alien species and humans, while the White House continues to telegraph that further disclosure is coming. We don't know when. Dr. Stephen Greer is the founder of the Disclosure Project. He is a researcher, a medical doctor. He's been on the forefront of this conversation for the last 3 decades. Dr. Greer, good to have you back. Last week, I had one of those members of Congress on this show, Tim Burchett, and he said this. Take a look.
If they would release the things that I've seen, you would stay up. You'd be up at night. I was briefed last week on an issue, 2 weeks ago, and it would have set the earth off. This country would have come unglued, I think, if they would have heard all that I heard. They would demand answers. And we need to. The people that know are dying or disappearing, as the case may be.
Wow.
And for the record, I'm not suicidal.
Okay, so he said the things that I've seen would keep you up at night. You texted me right after the show that night, Dr. Greer. Right. Do you know what he's talking about, like specifically?
Yeah, I do. So for a number of decades, we have used the retrieved non-human bodies, biologicals are called, and created creatures that are part human, part not human, and very advanced biomedical research. And I've known about this since the 90s, and these have been used in covert operations, like the CIA document we have that admits they were using this sort of tech as well as the man-made UFOs to stage and hoax alien abductions and all manner of nonsense. The problem is it sounds like a science fiction movie, but it's been part of a larger multi-decade psychological warfare operation, partly run out of a division of the CIA and some out of other special operations and attached to the aerospace industry giants. But yes, we know details of that. We know where these weird experiments are going on. And I've handed that off to certain people in the national security structure and to certain members of Congress, as well as the names of whistleblowers who have been involved.
Okay, let me hold on. So there's a breeding program. Matt Gaetz said that. Tim Burchett didn't deny that. You're confirming that. Are there female volunteers that are taking part in this program? Like, how does that work?
No, there are no. The human subjects are ones who have been captured in distressed areas and used for human experimentation. It's similar to what one of our whistleblowers admitted to, last year. Okay. When he said that.
Do you know, Dr. Greer, why would we do this? Like, who would want to do that?
They would do it to try to create diversions and make people think that there's a threat from outer space when there isn't one, and also to confuse and cover up illegally run covert programs and say the aliens are doing it. It's a classic diversion and deception operation.
Let me ask you about that.
Wow. So I'm just going to leave it there. You guys can go and see the full video later on. But I think this is extremely significant because this is exactly what we talked about with Nephilim Death Squad just recently on their show, Jeremiah.
Yeah, that was a really, really interesting interview. And that's kind of what I said, I think, about what my thoughts were, that it's just a distraction. That's all it is.
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting. And when we talk about these genetic mutations and these laboratory experiments that they're going to pass off as aliens, but it's actually just freaky people freaking doing freaky stuff. I think there's some other current news that really has me concerned, because we know that things like tick-borne illnesses have been linked to laboratory and biological warfare. Well, just recently, there's a whole bunch of news going around of tick apocalypse with bioengineered.
Are you talking about ticks
being released?
Like the bug?
Yes. Ticks being released in mass, and it's horrifying. And check it out. Apparently, boxes of these ticks are showing up on land, and if they're intending to, make the U.S. populace stop eating red meats, for some kind of Green Deal, horror show, or they're just trying to get people sick to make money, or they're just trying to weaken the American populace or the Western world. But I'm sure these ticks are not just limited to the North Americas. However, we do know that there has been a pattern, and it has been linked to biological warfare. But check this out. So look at how many ticks people are getting this season. Just thousands and thousands of these ticks. I know it's spring, I know it's season, but apparently these are ticks that are carrying very deadly diseases that they've kind of been homegrown bred.
Those almost look like chiggers, kind of. You know what chiggers are?
Yeah, those are terrible too.
It looks like it was going in his skin, underneath.
Just horrifying. I really hate ticks. And so just to see how they're using it to spread their biological weaponry, it reminds me of how, if you're not able to get vaccinated, then they want you to eat the lettuce that has the mRNA technology kind of homegrown into it. And if you're not willing to eat their lettuce, then by gone it, if you walk in a field, you're going to get vaccinated by a tick, right?
Gross.
That's kind of what it makes me think of.
It's like a bioweapon.
Oh, man. Yes, exactly. Another song, I'm going to censor it a little bit. It has a couple strongly worded things, but it was put out by Zach Lewis, our buddy again. And it's a pretty cool hip hop song that has some visuals revolving around the pharmaceutical industry. And because this biological weaponry, both the vaccines, the food, the poisoning of our water supply, poisoning us by ticks, whatever, it kind of covers all this kind of stuff. But check this out.
I'm seeing all these people dying, seeing all these mothers crying. Will it ever fucking end? These politicians keep on lying. If you come
by chat, man,
to do the time, but they can sell the product, kill some people and be fine. It's so crazy. It's a crime family. Purdue Pharmaceuticals granted immunity from fucking killing and decimating communities. They try to keep us blind. Open your eyes so you can see.
It's just hard for musicians.
Maybe this was an AI song. Yeah, it is. It's a hard
Either
day
way, it's he's spitting truth. The bot, if it is a bot.
Several months ago, you covered the corruption of the medical industry and the Purdue kind of, you went deep on pharmaceutical industry stuff. And in one of your History's Mystery segments, or it might have even been longer than just a few months ago, but definitely really interesting, kind of a pressing topic, because these are the people that, one, we're seeing firsthand with OPA the difficulties of the medical industry, and it's super frustrating. I know, just dealing with the way that doctors are, and these people in white lab coats, they pretty much think they're like little G God, and it's how they treat you that really reveals it, because you don't know what's best, they know what's best, and I know you're dealing with this right now with OPA.
Well, I know it's almost insurance is worse than doctors. And that's the hardest part, is that for the longest time, I thought it was just the white lab coats, but insurance. When we first saw Luigi Mangione, the guy who, pew-pewed the guy, United Healthcare, at first I was like, the guy has family and stuff, but lately I've been having these dark thoughts, but I won't go there. But I was like, man, maybe he was onto something. I don't know. It's probably just the devil in my ear, but I don't know. There's something sketchy going on with the medical industry and with the insurance. Insurance is why people die a lot of the time. Insurance. Wow. It's crazy.
Super dark. Well, just a couple more stories for us today, guys. This next one is very pressing. It has to do with the advancement of AI identity stealing, and Melania Trump actually apparently spearheaded a new legislation called Take It Down Act. And the first public conviction of this has recently happened. A man who was sexploitating AI images of real people.
I said that way back when I started doing the deep fakes, when I was still allowed to, that people were it was gonna be stronger than DNA. It is. I called it.
Yeah, to me, it's very interesting because it has to do with convicting people based on the AI content that they generate. And while, yes, people are generating pretty horrific, sexualized, bad stuff, I think the precedence that's set is very interesting, and to see how this is going to convict people using AI in the future going forward, to me, is interesting as well. But check out this report from Levitt announcing the first conviction under the Take It Down Act.
Yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act.
I agree
landmark
with that.
Legislation that First Lady Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed, that protects victims from non-consensual AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. This is a huge achievement for the First Lady, and I know the president is very proud of his wife's efforts in getting this critical legislation passed to protect America's youth. So we thank the First Lady for her efforts, and we hope that others will report on this historic conviction yesterday.
I mean, at least she cares, to be completely honest, because a lot of people don't even care. Like,
oh yeah,
verbally, like she actually spoke up, and it's like, she didn't have to do that. But nothing will ever be solved about it. But at least she brought it up,
Hey, it is interesting to me that they chose to use Melania to push this legislation through, which to me is like, oh, we got to give the First Lady something good to do, right? But what if this is one of the legislations that is some of the most important things being pushed through in today's world, especially with the rise of AI? It's giving the government the tools to convict people based on the content that they create. And I wonder, where the gray line is. How do we go into 1984 world and surveillance state where, they're doing thought police stuff versus, people need to be reined in for their over-sexualization of real life people and how they're using this for bad stuff, right? So, you have this spectrum, and so we have to be aware of the spectrum. Yes, it's good to protect. Yeah, we have a spectrum. All right. Well, recently there's been a lot of talk about Afroman's, the notorious rapper, winning his freedom of speech case. Because he made a bunch of diss tracks revolving around the police force that raided his home. And there was a really fantastic, interesting interview here on Channel 5 News. I'm not going to play the clip, but I did want to just point out that this topic of freedom of speech seems to be coming up more and more as we are in a wartime economy, as people are wanting to speak out against, certain regimes, and they're being labeled anti-Semites, and people want to call out, that they disagree with this or that decision of politicians right now. We're seeing that this freedom of speech thing, it seems to be only protected if you guise it behind creative musical endeavors. And so if this is not a lesson that we can take from Afroman's victory over the police that raided his home, then I don't know what we can do. I mean,
he will forever be a legend in my heart. He is savage. It was so great.
Yeah. So what happened, everybody who's not familiar, is police were raiding his home, and they went in. They
without
were
a warrant, I think.
busted,
right?
Yeah, without a warrant. they're busting in, and a whole series, expanded from him releasing video clips showing their faces and using it to promote his diss tracks. And then the police force turns back and sues him for using their faces, even though they were raiding his home, for slander. Mm-hmm. And then he won this case, which to me is pretty interesting, pretty significant,
pretty awesome.
But worth paying attention to, because it all ties in with this ongoing war for freedom of speech. Whether you're ever heard Afroman or not, if you have tender ears, probably it's not for you. But I definitely remember when I was growing up, I was gonna clean my room until I got
maybe that song I just sung wasn't Afroman. I'm trying to think. Was it Colt 45 and 2 Zigzag?
I think it might have been. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that.
I know. And then I got high. And then he has one that's Hunter got high at the White House.
Oh yeah, he's been on his like re-up, in terms of his notoriety. But anyways, in one or two last pieces of interest news, check this NBC segment of a bird that was taken scuba diving.
What?
Yes.
Like bird's like, get me out of there. Get me out of there, please.
Yeah. Bird's like, I don't know what this is. The whole world is spooky. Yeah. I'm going to take my way out of here.
Oh, please.
And the parrot's like, Deep Blue Part 2, Deep Blue Part 2. Oh, man. But anyways, I thought that was pretty crazy.
How do we put a cat in one of those tubes?
What do you think Charlie? A cat would do?
Charlie would actually probably like it. Because when he was a kitten, he had ringworm, and you had to bathe the cat every day. I don't know if you know anything about bathing cats, but they do not like it. But now he's obsessed with water. He'll splash water, and he drinks with his hand and licks it. And he scoops it, and then he licks it. So he got some in his ear, and I had to the whole thing. But nice. It's fun. Awesome.
All right, man. That was a stupid video, but anyways, that's all the news for this week, Jeremiah. Let's get a good, get a good round of applause for the coming History's Mysteries segment that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, well, it's time for an all new History's Mysteries. Okay. I get a fancy little thing. Oh, heck yeah.
Hey, Jeremiah Skiba.
Okay, so this week for History's Mysteries, the place that we're going to go is not just history. I mean, it is, but it'll make you question kind of everything. And Jake, when you hear the name Stanley Kubrick, what do you think of?
The guy who shot the moon landing, of course.
Exactly. I think some of his best work is the 1969 moon landing, in my opinion. But other than that, this man is known for perfection, symbolism, and all kinds of things that he hides in the movies. But I found this video, and this was very interesting, I thought. And I'll just go ahead and play this first clip.
Eyes Wide Shut was Kubrick's final warning. The climax of the movie revolves around a ritualistic orgy for the rich and powerful. At the time, it was seen as a dream sequence out of line with reality. Something just insane and like from a horror movie. But then, just a few years later, this footage of an elite pagan ritual was released to the public. This was secretly filmed at the Bohemian Grove, an infamous meeting palace for power brokers and future presidents. Bohemian Grove is clearly something that freaked out Kubrick deeply. And while Bohemian Grove has long been a source of conspiracy theories, some more convincing than others, one thing that is clear is that it's a place where the powerful gather away from prying eyes, despite its official motto of weaving spiders outsiders come not here. Not many photos or films exist of it, but it's been an institution for decades. This photo shows a group of powerful men, including the future presidents Nixon and Reagan, attending a meeting at the Grove. In the Nixon tape, secret recordings of private meetings were taken without his knowledge, as Nixon talks about the Grove here.
Let's look at Northern California. You understand? Yeah. But it isn't just down in the randy part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attend from time to time. But it is the most pathetic goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd, because it's just terrible. I mean, I never want to shake hands with anybody in San Francisco.
The ritual in the film mirrors exactly what's said to happen at Bohemian Grove, which revolves around a massive owl statue, an ancient pagan symbol of wisdom and hidden knowledge. It's actually the representation of an ancient god called Molech, who is synonymous with child sacrifice. Then a few years after the film was released, a young Alex Jones of all people infiltrated the Bohemian Grove and managed to film part of what looks like a ritual sacrifice. In the grainy video, we can see people gathered around the statue with candles or lights in their hands. The footage is so uncanny because it's exactly the same ritual in Eyes Wide Shut. In fact, you'd be forgiven for thinking that Kubrick had actually been there to see it with his own eyes. Then, throughout the last 2 decades, even more of Eyes Wide Shut has come true. From the opening of the film to its chilling conclusion, Eyes Wide Shut is full of warnings. One of these warnings is the use of masks throughout the movie. Kubrick was absolutely obsessed with the use of masks here, and it's also something that Epstein was obsessed with. Many of the photos and the stories in the Epstein files involve them. Most creepily, there are pictures of this room on the island. This dentist chair itself, an object with potentially dark implications, is surrounded by these strange masks attached to the walls, like they're watching. And you can easily imagine someone in that chair surrounded by masks and masked people. Through characters that seem too identical to him to be coincidental, Kubrick showed us how that world operates. The initiation rituals in the film mirror his tactics of sexual blackmail. Once they've got you compromised, you're part of the conspiracy and your silence is guaranteed by lethal consequences for you and your family. In fact, it's almost impressive that so much of his commentary on that world stayed in this movie. Somehow it was released in a time when no one had any idea of what was really going on behind closed doors. In light of the Epstein files, among other things, there's been renewed debate around how much Warner Bros. And Hollywood actually changed Kubrick's final film. We now know that they added in CGI figures to obscure the famous ritual scene, but did they cut anything else? What was left on the cutting room floor that we never got to see that was perhaps a warning? It's a valid question because Kubrick wasn't around to oversee its actual release. As winter turned to spring in the year 1999, Stanley Kubrick was almost finished. Decades of planning, years of sacrifices, and the longest continuous shoot in film history had all led up to this moment. This was the culmination of Stanley Kubrick's entire life's work, the most important message and warning he could give to the wider public. But just days after showing Eyes Wide Shut to Warner Bros. Executives, Stanley Kubrick was found dead. When the film was released some 4 months later, the great director's final masterpiece met with mixed reviews. Some critics heaped on their praises, but others called it dated, and a lot of people just found it very peculiar and strange. It had a very deeply unsettling feeling to it. It's almost impossible to imagine this being shown in cinemas today. Which is why with everything we know today though, it feels more prophetic than ever. Stanley Kubrick's exploration of elite depravity and the ultra-powerful becomes more relevant with every new file dump. And as we'll cover in this video, we see the warnings in the hidden details of the film itself.
So every story has another story behind it. And, you know, I mean, we're told it's clean, simple, safe, but the real version is messy. And he predicted so many things. And it's almost mind-blowing if you watch it today. But if you watch it, it kind of doesn't make sense. Have you watched it, Jake?
I watched it years and years ago, but man, it was so dark. It is basically a porn film of the elites basically doing these rituals. And it really reminds me of what Epstein was doing today. I mean, that's right. Kind of what I think he was telegraphing.
And also, you know, like people like Peter Nygaard and all those people, but he was kind of exposing that. So I don't know if he was truly in on it or if he was exposing it. And it seems like he was exposing it, or else why would they kill him? So now we're going to be talking about the story behind the story. So here we go.
as well as in the story behind the story, how Stanley Kubrick had spent the last decade of his life working on his final masterpiece and what really happened in the immediate aftermath of his death. Despite being acknowledged as the greatest director of all time by industry insiders, Stanley Kubrick was highly suspicious of Hollywood. Ever since the 60s, he had detached himself from California, often choosing to create entirely new sets in London instead. This was especially true for Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick had been obsessed with a novel called Dream Story since at least the 1960s, even earlier by some accounts, but other projects always got in the way, or maybe he didn't feel ready to properly tackle it. It wasn't until the decades passed, he experienced things we can only imagine, and saw the true realities of how the elites work, that Kubrick began working on the film in 1994, dropping all of his other projects simply to focus on this. First came the screenplay. Like in 2001 or A Clockwork Orange, Kubrick had always adapted the work of others. He was a photographer before he was a filmmaker, and his main talents lay in the visual world. And you see, Eyes Wide Shut was no different, and he hired the acclaimed author Friedrich Raphael to adapt the Dream Story into his screenplay. This took over a year and tons of drafts. Dream Story is set in pre-war Vienna, so Kubrick wanted to modernize it, setting it in the 1990s New York instead, and it was Raphael's job to make this happen. It was a long, grueling process, and eventually, most of Raphael's changes never made it even into the film. Yet, with one exception, the character of Victor Ziegler. He's the main antagonist, representative of the world of sexual depravity, power, money, and blackmail, which the rest of the film hints at. If Epstein was ever in the question, Ziegler is his counterpart. Ziegler makes concrete what was left up to speculation in Dream Story. The masked orgy which Bill attends becomes a clear part of a wider conspiracy of powerful people. Ziegler's most telling line comes towards the end of the movie. Those were not just ordinary people there. If I told you their names, I'm not going to tell you the names, but if I did, I don't think you would sleep so well. Ziegler actually looks similar to Epstein, and he fulfills pretty much the exact same role that Epstein did in real life. In the film, he's at least a level above Bill. Bill is a working man. He may have reached the top of regular society as a respected doctor, but he still exists as a normal person with a salary and an apartment that looks like a regular family home. Ziegler is above that. He has a massive house and decadent parties. His house doesn't even look lived in at all in any of its scenes. In fact, the house is incredibly similar to Epstein's old New York mansion. At his party at the start of the film, we also see two characters in the background, but they're clear enough to make out their faces. Their resemblance to how Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell would have looked at the time is striking. Ziegler is also representative of the cult of powerful people. In the rest of this scene, he plays the role perfectly. He's both reassuring and threatening. He talks to Bill like he has his best interests at heart, like he's trying to protect him, weaving him a story about how nobody was really hurt because of his actions. The girl that seemingly saved Bill from the cult died because she was an addict, and it was bound to happen. The jazz pianist that Bill manipulated to get into the cult's ritual is apparently safe with his family. He definitely hasn't been kidnapped or murdered, even though Ziegler refers to him in the past tense in this scene. These are almost certainly convenient lies. Bill has seen the dead woman himself. He knows from talking to regular people that the pianist was kidnapped and beaten. But the subtext is clear. Submit to these lies or I won't be able to protect you, and your family will face the consequences. Which is why Bill ends up completely defeated. But the subtext is clear. Submit to these lies or I won't be able to protect you, and your family will also face the consequences. Bill ends up completely defeated.
Yeah, that's like a total Epstein parallel with what we saw in that film, and like all the people that looked like Epstein and Ghislaine. Wow.
Yeah, it's totally mind blowing, and I know just the two people in the background and what we know now about Epstein. It makes a lot of sense why he would be trying to expose them and trying to, maybe he's on the Epstein. We need to look at the J mail or whatever and see if Kubrick's on there, but
Gmail didn't exist back then, man. That was before the internet.
No, the J-mail or whatever. Before he died, he might have hung out with Epstein. I don't know. But anyways, we're going to be getting into something that Stanley Kubrick had a very big problem with, and it was secret societies, which I know a lot of people in our audience really, really love. Love going down that rabbit hole. So let's go ahead and play this one.
Other changes that Raphael and Kubrick made point to real-world secret societies, namely the infamous Skull and Bones. It's an organization shrouded in mystery, but with lots of confirmed, incredibly powerful members. You've got presidents stretching from Taft in the late 1800s all the way to George Bush. In fact, both of the nominees for the 2004 election were so-called Bonesmen. Other confirmed members are powerful judges, congressmen, senators, media moguls, and anyone else in positions of authority. It's often said, although it's never been truly confirmed, that the society operates through a system of mutual sexual blackmail revolving around depraved rituals and confessions. At one point in the movie, Bill is threatened by some frat boys as he walks along the street. It's a sequence that was altered from the novel. Kubrick made sure to indicate that they're from Yale based on their clothes. You can read it as foreshadowing. They represent the greater threat that the film's secret society makes on his life. Outside of that, there are other similarities. The blackmail element of Eyes Wide Shut also mirrors reality. These secret societies and elite groups nearly all use these tactics to ensure the silence and compliance of their members. It's all in the initiation ritual. There are reports of new bonesmen having to tell the rest of society about their sexual secrets while they lie still in a coffin. Similar reports exist for British high society. David Cameron, the ex-Prime Minister, was once accused of having had intercourse with the head of a dead pig, all at the initiation ceremony for the Piers Gaveston Society. And, funnily enough, David Cameron did not sue the well-connected accusers as he was too busy running the country. Other elements of how Kubrick made this film also pointed to clear warnings. For the two main characters, he cast the celebrity power couple of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. While they're obviously both great actors, it was a strange decision in some way. They both have their own cultish backgrounds, Tom Cruise and his history with Scientology. Even at the time, rumors were flying about how Kubrick was going to integrate this real-life element into his own film about cults. Maybe he thought their authentic background would give them the experience they needed to make their roles come to life. Later on, after the public saw the film, the questions continued. In a press conference, the pair were asked if they wanted to talk about any of the rumors surrounding the film and their casting. It's a strange moment. The two start talking about some of the more ridiculous tabloid rumors, and then when they're about to move on to more substantial claims about psychiatry, they both clam up and go quiet.
Well, there were a lot of them. It's hard to say which one was the most.
Yes, and then we actually had the psychiatry board at one stage outraged at that, yes. It was interesting, actually, and this was anyway, I'm talking too much. You talk.
No, you're not. No. That's what they hear. They want to hear you.
Exactly. Jan and Tom talk a bit, please.
Nicole's avoidant answer here, her refusal to talk about specifics, and Tom's complete silence are incredibly telling. As Scientology does see psychiatry as its #1 enemy, and Cruise, the face of Scientology, shares these beliefs. Years later, he would even give an explosive interview about psychiatry, obviously with the angle that Scientology's religious methods are the correct alternative. But above all, his immersion in the world of cults made sure that Tom always knows when to keep his mouth shut on certain topics, like he does here.
So it's interesting that he was like, he picked Tom Cruise because of the Scientology and the cult-like mentality of Epstein and kind of exposing all of it. And, we'll never know anything about Epstein at the end of the day. We'll never know, how he really died or anything at the end of the day. But I found something so interesting, and that was that Stanley Kubrick was mysteriously found dead 6 days after the premiere of the Warner Brothers release of his movie, and he was pissed about it, about what Warner Brothers had done. So before I get your feedback, Jake, let me just play this one last clip involving this video. So,
other than Ziegler, the new setting, and some small other changes, the script was mostly unchanged from Dream's story. Kubrick would build the rest of the movie on top of it. As always, he controlled every tiny detail, and the cinematography was possibly the best of all of his films. The lighting was the key. By using his own sets, Kubrick could perfectly control every single light source, tone, color, and shadow. The ritual scene, the mockery of a Catholic mass where the women are distributed among the masked men as the red-robed figure spreads incense smoke. In the background, the song Masked Ball by Jocelyn Poog plays. On first watching, it seems like it's just nonsense or maybe some strange unknown language. Only by playing it in reverse you hear the true meaning. It's a recording of a Romanian liturgy. It's a clear allusion to Satanism, but it's unclear whether Kubrick was outwardly indicating that this is the true nature of these cults, or if he was just parodying the established beliefs people had about them. Kubrick chose to film parts of the scene in the former mansion of the Rothschilds. He could have chosen almost any of the hundreds of stately homes and country manors in the UK, but he chose that specific one for the key shots. As one of the most significant and important families in history, the Rothschilds have been pulling the strings of the world order for literally centuries, and Kubrick definitely knew this. In scenes other than the ritual, Kubrick points towards some of the female characters being underage, or goes the other way compared to the novel he was adapting. The character of Domino is written as 17 years old in the original novel. In Eyes Wide Shut, she is older though and less naive. On the other hand, the costume store owner's daughter and their bizarre scenes are clearly alluding to something. She looks incredibly young, and the actress was around 16 years old at the time of filming, perhaps even younger. These parts of the movie seem unconnected to the secret society plotline at first. Especially when this was first released in cinemas, people pointed to this as evidence that depravity exists at all layers of society. But now, with everything we know about the elites and how they operate, this is definitely connected. The two models at the beginning of the film are key. They're attendants of Ziegler's Christmas party, and they gravitate towards Bill. In many ways, they're his first temptation, although it gets interrupted. When they talk to Bill, they ask him, "Don't you want to go where the rainbow ends?" The costume shop itself is called Rainbow Costume Rental. The place where the rainbow ends is where Bill is eventually offered the underage girl. This was also seemingly the final element of Epstein's blackmail cult and the games he played with other elites. And we can imagine that Stanley Kubrick was aware of many more other characters just like Epstein. And you can actually easily read the whole film as just being a setup by the cult, every single aspect of it. The legendary director and screenwriter Roger Avery believes that the final edit we saw wasn't what Kubrick intended.
Just thinking, I just pulled my script from Eyes Wide Shut. I had a script that was from set, and I was reading it over the weekend, and I saw that it has this, I mean, I've known this for a long time, but I started really thinking about it over the weekend. It's missing a narration. It's missing a third-person narration that was originally in the movie. That's because the movie was recut.
Lots of sparse scenes that seem like they're meant to be atmospheric may have actually been blanked to allow for that narration. That missing narration may have spelt out Kubrick's warnings even more concretely as well.
That Kubrick finished the movie because they hadn't done the recording of the narrator yet. And so maybe they just kind of kludged it together, except there's an entire thread that's kind of been squashed in that film, and that's the two men that are throughout the movie that are constantly in the background of the film, who eventually in the final shots of the film you see, like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in that final scene in the toy store when she's looking at the Rosemary's Baby bassinet, which is totally Kubrick saying something, and they never take their eyes off their daughter until the moment they take their eyes off and the final line of the movie is coming up. You see those two guys walking off with the daughter. They're taking her away. They've given their daughter to the pedo cult. That's what's happened at the end of the movie. And there's an incident where when they first screened the movie in England, people who were outside, this is all secondhand, by the way. There were people who were outside of the theater who could hear inside of the theater Kubrick yelling at all the executives and saying, "It's my movie, you can't cut it. You can't fucking cut my film, blah, 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 blah." Big argument going on. Then he dies like 4 days later.
It's also just one instance of two men kidnapping someone or being involved in something terrible. They're the two men from the rainbow costume store with the young girl, and they're the two men who take away the pianist off screen. But like with all of these things, they are outright denied by the people on the inside of the industry, the people who made the final edit to the film. With all of these warnings both hidden and out in the open, it's insane that people thought that the film was anything but an expose on this whole elite world. Just like the title says, people's eyes are wide shut, and despite Kubrick showing everything clear as day, everyone still failed to see the reality of it. And then we need to talk about one of the most important things about this movie, the rumors surrounding Kubrick's death. It's a very strange coincidence that Stanley Kubrick died just days after showing the studios this film. Ali Army also said something that doesn't line up with the rest of Kubrick's friends and family on this. Quote, "We had a long conversation about Eyes Wide Shut. He told me it was a piece of shit and that he was disgusted with it and that the critics were going to have him for lunch. He said Cruise and Kidman had their way with him, exactly the words he used. This goes against what other people have said though. His daughter has said for years that this film was the one Kubrick intended on making, that it was finished and that everyone loved it. Plus, Kubrick was a tired man at this point who had worked himself to the bone for decades on the films. Kubrick's final warning then was that both of these worlds exist, but they also can only exist because of the weakness and depravity of individual people."
Okay, so what are your thoughts about that whole clip? I mean, I think his death was super suspicious. I think he was mad. I don't know, was that his final warning? Did he know too much? What do you think?
I think he has a long established history of hiding things deep and esoteric in his films, and what this brings back to mind is The Shining and how there's all the different lunar landing, supposed theories that Kubrick was the one who shot the Apollo missions, and it definitely seems like he was trying to communicate what was actually ongoing in that day and age with these secret societies and Epstein and Ghislaine and the child sacrifice, trafficking situation. Wow, it's pretty amazing. and shocking that he was able to get away with that much. And I think it reminds me a lot of the QAnonymous conspiracies, right? How QAnonymous talked about a lot of the true things that were going on that have been verified by the Epstein file release. However, there was just enough crazy or just enough diversion to make people kind of throw it all out as conspiracy fodder. But, I mean, it seems like he was trying to include very specific scenes that they cut and edited that full picture explained and detailed what we're only now finding out with the Epstein files.
Yep. Well, that's all I have for this story. And let me know what you think at home in the comment section. After diving into something this deep in this rabbit hole, it's always important to lighten the mood and laugh a little bit. And it's time for an all new volume. But please excuse my sense of humor. If you laugh at any of these videos, let me know your favorite one in the comment along with the timestamp. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry that you cannot take a joke. You just need to lighten up. So here's my volume 55, but please excuse my sense of humor.
Warning. Some people might find some of these jokes offensive. If you are one of those people, I'm sorry that you cannot take a joke. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, Oklahoma. I know your weather's bipolar and everything.
The balls on this guy to talk about the weather in Oklahoma?
The Goyim must learn that their purpose in life is to give us all their money, every single penny, not to hold it, not to invest it, but to bring it to us. The Goyim work, we build, the Goyim save, we...
Erika.
Oh my God! We are Charlie Kirk. Oh God.
Day one of practicing my ventriloquism skills.
Just to let everybody know, I am an expert. I'm very smart, and I will share for free if you ask here. If you just need to talk to me. And if you want to buy my hotel idea or shirt idea, let me know by sending me money.
Excuse me, sir. You dropped £1 there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's all yours.
Thank you.
Well. You're welcome. Gonna have to make my money back on winner.com.
It is 3 in the morning. I am in a nest of Jews.
So I ball so hard, they wanna find me. First nigga gotta find me. What's the grand to a like me? Can you please remind me? I ball so crazy. It don't face. Next go.
Who has Down syndrome has wanted to be a cop since he was a kid.
You know why I pulled you over?
'Cause I was speeding?
No, 'cause you're black.
I like the dude in the priest procession or whatever. That I remember when you first showed that a long time ago. I got a big kick out of that.
Yeah, it's always a classic. But yeah, guys, scan that QR code if you want to get your Truth or Con tickets. It's going to be epic. You're going to want to book your stay and book your tickets. They're going to go fast. So yeah, anything else you want to add, Jake?
Adios.
Watchthelife.com/Skiba. And thank you for watching this episode of Skiba News Nation. And we'll see you soon.
If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe. And also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Ross Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.